Hello, hello! So, this is going to be a video how to make a keto cranberry sauce recipe using pure stevia. You guys might know by now that I prefer stevia over other sweeteners. Other sweeteners tend to have chemical properties or alcohol properties, and although they may not spike your blood sugar, some of them will be toxic in some ways. Your body often treats the sweeteners like xylitol, just like an alcohol, which means it needs to work hard with the liver to clean that out. So I always prefer to use stevia as my sweetener. And cranberries is a great companion to stevia because even if you have a sensitivity to the bitterness of stevia, since cranberries are already quite bitter and tart, that'll disguise the flavor. So using stevia in this recipe should be excellent. You can see right here all of my ingredients. It's quite simple. You'll need about a pound of cranberries. About 2 packages usually does it. If they're not particularly fresh, you may want a 3rd package just in case. Don't feel like you need to be conservative with how much you make, because being that it's sugar-free and clean stevia, you really can eat as much as you like without any kind of dire consequences. It's very high fiber and healing recipe. So you'll need about a pound of cranberries. I'll show you how to wash them with the remainder in this package. And you'll need stevia. You'll need some fresh ginger, some spices, and Psyllium Husk powder. This will provide the thickness that you would normally get from adding a ton of sugar to your cranberry sauce. So I'll go ahead and get started. Alright, when you're washing your cranberries, fresh cranberries are very hard and crisp. If any of your cranberries are soft or squishy, those ones are spoiled and you want to get rid of those. The best way to get rid of them is while you're washing them. Wash them a small amount at a time, I find is best, because then you can find all the rotten ones. You can find some of them just with your eyes. You'll see that they're wrinkled, and you can get rid of those. And the rest you'll feel as you're rinsing them off. You'll feel which ones are squishy. So rinse them like this. Feel around in the berries, and you'll find ones that are squishy, and you can toss those out. If you have too many in here, a lot of the squishy ones will get past the radar, and you won't have as good a cranberry sauce. And that's that for washing the cranberries. Alright, so here's an opportunity for me to show you the difference between the different kinds of ginger you can find in the grocery stores. These are the 2 main types I typically find in the grocery stores where I live. They're essentially the same genus. However, this one is typically known as Chinese ginger. In the grocery store where the price tag is, you'll see it's called Chinese ginger. And this one's the really fat, juicy one that has a mild flavor. And this one, you're probably more likely to find in an organic store or a more expensive grocery store. This one's quite a lot more potent. It's often called Japanese ginger, or just next, we'll prepare the fresh ginger. Now, I happen to have both types that I can find in the grocery stores where I live. In this recipe, I'm going to be using this ginger, and I'll probably use about this much right here. I'll take that off and peel this and use about this much. And I'm going to be shredding it today with this handy dandy microplane. I'll take this off. A clever way to get your skin off your ginger is to scrape it off. You preserve as much of the ginger as possible this way. The good flavors, and you still get the skin off so it doesn't get in the way of your recipe. But honestly, in this recipe, you wouldn't notice the skin even if you left it right on. So I'm just scraping it off for posterity's sake. Great. Microplane. This ginger is going to be a much better companion because cranberries are a very strong flavor, and you want to notice the ginger flavor in conjunction with the cranberries. And that other ginger is just a little too mild for that. This is what happens when you shred your ginger with the skin on. A lot of the skin pieces just come right off on the microplane. And I decided I wanted a little more than I said I was going to use. So there we go. That's going to be enough. Put that away. And get our ginger out of here. Great. All right. So now we've washed about a pound of fresh cranberries and shredded about a tablespoon of fresh sharp ginger. We're going to put everything together. I've got about 3 cups of water in the pot here. I've put the heat on. I'm going to add the cranberries. There we go. And I've measured out. Oh, we'll put in the fresh ginger first. There we go. About a tablespoon of fresh ginger. I've measured out about a tablespoon of powdered dry ginger you get in your spice aisle. And I've also measured out about 1/8 of a teaspoon of mace and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves. Now, the recipe calls for nutmeg and cloves, and you can find nutmeg quite easily. Mace tastes similar to nutmeg. It's just a little bit of a step up, and it brings things together a lot better, but it's not easy to find in most grocery stores. So if you can't find it, no big deal. Just use nutmeg. Nutmeg is fine. I will also add about a half a teaspoon of stevia. I'll need a considerable amount because cranberries are quite tart, and you want to balance out that tartness. And that's all together. There is still psyllium husk powder to add, but we add this later. So what we're going to do, we're going to stir this up. And you can see the water's getting hot. And you're going to put the lid on once this starts cooking, because cranberries can splatter, fresh cranberries, when you're cooking them. So you want to put the lid on and make sure that they don't splatter all over your kitchen. Once it comes to a boil, turn the heat down to a simmer, keep the lid on, and let that cook for about 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending on how firm you want your cranberries. Alright, we're almost done. My cranberries have been cooking for about 20 minutes. They're perfect, in my opinion. Look nice and tasty, soft. All we do now is add a little bit of psyllium husk powder. I'm going to add about a teaspoon. What this is it's a fiber that makes things thicker. So we mix that in pretty quickly, because once it soaks up the water, it can start clumping. So if you mix it in right away, it won't clump, it'll distribute evenly, and it'll thicken your cranberry sauce to just the right thickness. And that's it. There are some variables you can do. I'm going to turn the heat off. There are some variables you can do. You can add, if you're really partial to orange flavor in your cranberry sauce, then add some orange zest or some orange extract. Don't add the orange juice, that's far too sweet for a keto diet. If you are partial to a different type of recipe, by all means add different flavors. I think the key components here are how much cranberries, how much stevia, and this secret psyllium husk powder. I do encourage you to try my spice blend I've come up with. I find it has a special traditional flavor to it that can't be matched. Not something that I've seen other people do in their recipes, but there's something about it that really feels like you've gone back in time. So give it a shot. Try what I've done. Use the mace if you can find it. Don't use cinnamon. Don't use oranges. Just the nutmeg, cloves, and ginger. Really wonderful combination. I hope you love your cranberry sauce.